Hey there, this is Dr. Alioto, and I'm going to be talking about one of the symptoms that is most near and dear to my heart, and that is bloating. I became a naturopathic doctor for several reasons, one of the main reasons being my gut health. I suffered with digestive problems most of my young childhood and yes, into my adulthood, but is much more understood and controlled now, and I'm very thankful for that. But when I had bloating all the time, it was debilitating. It's very, very frustrating to feel bloated because not only does it affect your belly, it affects your mood, your energy, your confidence level, the clothes you wear, the food that you eat, cognition. There's all sorts of things that bloating affects. And it seems to me that it's not very well understood by most providers. And so I want to talk a little bit about it today to help you understand why you might be bloated. So first of all, when we have bloating, generally we relate it to something we've eaten, right? Because it generally gets worse after we eat. And the one thing that we can control is the food that we eat. So we go after all the different foods. We try to cut out and eliminate, and we drive ourselves crazy trying to figure out what is the food that's causing my bloating. But let me tell you something. It's probably not the food you're eating. Because the food that we're eating, yes, makes it worse because it's adding fuel to the fire, but it's not the fire itself. It's not the root cause of the bloating. So we have to go even further into the detail of what's going on with this bloating. The microbiome is your gut microbiology, right? The microorganisms that live in your intestines they make up the microbiome. It consists of bacteria, yeast, fungus, parasites. Not all of those are bad, right? They become problematic when there's too many good bacteria, fungi, or parasites, when there are presences of unhealthy bacteria, yeast, parasites, and also when we have maybe low stomach acid, not enough digestive enzyme, not enough prebiotic, right? And also when we have intestinal permeability. What is intestinal permeability? AKA leaky gut. Leaky gut is literally when your intestinal lining becomes leaky. So our intestinal lining should be tight, right? We have tight junctions that keep it together. The food that we eat, the things that we drink go into the digestive system. We digest, absorb, and eliminate. That is ideal. But when we have intestinal permeability, these tight junctions literally become leaky. So now the food that we're consuming, for example, becomes undigested, not absorbed, and these larger proteins, bacteria, toxins, other things get out of the gut lining and into the bloodstream. So let's just say we eat a piece of bread and we have leaky gut. Well, this larger gluten protein molecule that's in wheat, barley, and rye may be undigested. It will get out of the gut lining into the bloodstream, and now this gluten molecule is floating around the body. Well, so no wonder we have extra intestinal symptoms directly related to our GI health. So these cause things like eczema and skin rashes, brain fog, joint pain, bloating, poor cognition, poor mood. All of these things can be literally related right back to leaky gut. So that could be another major cause of the bloating. It's not, again, the food that you're eating. It's really that the gut is imbalanced, right? So if we're to go after the food we're eating, we do that after we have healed the gut, which I will talk about in just a moment. So when we are investigating, well, what's going on with the gut? How do we know? How do we know what to treat? That's where the comprehensive stool testing comes in. We can take a sample of the stool and investigate if there's infection, if there's enough healthy gut bacteria, if there's too much healthy gut bacteria, if there's infection or overgrowth of bacteria, fungi, parasites. How about how you're digesting, right? Do we have enough pancreatic enzyme? Is there inflammation? And that's also where we can investigate, do we have leaky gut? So that's really an important piece of understanding what's going on inside the microbiome. And once we figure that out, we can very specifically pinpoint exactly where we need to rebalance the gut. And instead of trying to eliminate things for months on end, we can get right to the point. Now, the other piece related here is the brain-gut connection. Many of us have heard of that before. What is the gut-brain connection? Well, there's several ways that they are connected. One being the nervous system. So we have a central nervous system in our brain and brainstem. We also have a nervous system in our gut called the enteric nervous system. Now, they are connected via one of our cranial nerves. We have 12 of them coming from our brainstem. One of them is called the vagus nerve. There's been a lot more talk and discussion and research around the vagus nerve, but what we do know for sure is that this cranial nerve is the longest cranial nerve in our body, and it goes from the brainstem all the way down to innervate the organs, including the digestive system. So if anywhere within that journey it's entrapped or moved to the side or just not really responding very well, we can have gut symptoms or brain symptoms. The other way that they're connected is that we make majority of our serotonin in our gut. So if we don't have a healthy gut, we don't have a healthy amount of serotonin to support our mood. There are several other ways that the gut and the brain are connected, and we can go into that in more detail. However, it's important to know that they are connected. So when somebody comes in with anxiety, depression, brain fog, challenges with focus, not only am I thinking brain, I may even think gut first. We have to rule out whether or not the gut is involved, because if we're addressing the brain and it's really caused by the gut, we're not going to have improved symptoms. So that is a key indication there. So now that we have our microbiome tested and we know exactly what to treat, I have created a 3-phase gut healing protocol to get rid of anything that is imbalanced or overgrowing in the gut that is most likely creating symptoms. And then I repopulate, support motility, and I support just the overall biology in the gut. And the 3rd phase is healing the gut lining. Should we have leaky gut, we want to heal that gut lining. We want to reduce inflammation. We want to repopulate with healthy gut bacteria so that the bloating is gone and our digestive system is working as it should to digest, absorb, and eliminate. Generally speaking, people feel an improvement within 2 weeks. Now, the bloating might not be entirely gone, but if we're on the right track, within 2 weeks, the bloating has reduced. And depending on how significant our imbalance is, it may take up to 3 months just to rebalance, get rid of the unhealthy gut bacteria. Now, what if we've done all of this, we've healed the gut, we've repopulated, everything is good in the gut, and yet we're still having symptoms? Now we're looking at food, right? Do we have food intolerances? Before, we couldn't really focus in on food other than avoiding the things that make us feel worse. We couldn't really blame the food at that point. But now that we have confidence that our microbiome is healthy, we can go after some of those foods that may be creating excess inflammation and an immune reaction. So this is where some of those food intolerances really might be significant. The other thing that we look into at this point is potentially the IBS, right? IBS is irritable bowel syndrome, and most people with any type of GI complaint will have that diagnosis. I give that diagnosis very specifically. I give an IBS diagnosis when we've healed the microbiome, we've ruled out everything else related to the gut, and we still have symptoms. Almost always, it's related to mental emotional health. So to me, IBS is when our gut responds to our external environment. When we have high stress, worry, anxiety, fear, when we have excess excitement even, and good news, sometimes the gut responds. And that to me is IBS. So we can still put tools in the toolbox to address and respond to the emotional factors that cause our gut to scream and yell. But that doesn't mean that it is a forever thing. It just means that this is who I am. I can anticipate and deal with these things when they come about. So if you feel like you have digestive upset when you're stressed or worried or overtired or overworked, there's several things that we can do to reduce those symptoms and help manage the nervous system to get through and adapt with that time. So, bloating is frustrating as heck. And I really, really hope that if you're watching this, you haven't been experiencing it for too long. But if you have, or if you have any bloating ever, please let me know. Let's work together to find a plan that addresses the cause of your bloating, because you don't have to deal with that. Bloating is not something you live with. It is something that your body is trying to tell you. It's trying to knock on your door and say, hey, something's wrong here. Can you help me? And so I hope that this has been helpful and hopefully a little bit relieving, that you don't have to live with it forever and there is always a cause. So like this if you enjoyed it, share it if you know somebody who's suffering from severe bloating or other GI complaints. And otherwise, I hope you all tune in for more.